Sea of Thieves, a swashbuckling pirate game with a multiplayer experience that feels much like a social experiment. Experienced players know not to trust anyone, and even the in-game alliances are more like guidelines that can and will be broken. And so I decided to take on the impossible challenge, to donate 100 pieces of treasure in just 2 days to receive the title of Pirate Philanthropist. This journey has a bunch of twists and turns, so we'll start off with day 1. I awake on Plunder Outpost and I head straight towards this skull-shaped cloud in the sky. These skull clouds appear above active skeleton forts where waves of undead roam. If I defeat all these waves, I will be rewarded with a vault filled with treasure, and if I can donate all that treasure, I'll be well underway to beating the challenge. Furthermore, these forts are visible for miles around, so they act as a beacon tempting players from across the sea. On the way to the fort, I spotted a shipwreck. The treasures found in shipwrecks aren't normally very valuable, but we care more about quantity than quality during this challenge. As I approach the fort, I spot a ship already parked up. Perfect, I thought. All I'd have to do is persuade them that I'm friendly, and move all the treasure from the fort onto their ship. Under cannon fire from the undead on the island, I move in closer, loudly proclaiming that I was a friend. But I knew something was wrong when I saw their mast fall. Their ship was taking a lot of damage. I rushed to help, but alas, their ship was well and truly sunk by the time I got there. I hoped to find a survivor on the island, but there was nobody to be found. Welp, this is awkward. Taking on a fort by yourself isn't impossible, it's just really slow. Without a better idea, I got started, checking the horizon regularly in case they returned. About half an hour later, the fort boss showed himself, the two-faced scoundrel. While fighting him, I get killed from behind by a skeleton. I shortly respawn back on my ship, only to find another ship fast approaching mine. I greeted them and even took out a cannon on the island that was shooting them. If these pirates were friendly, then they should be able to help me take out the boss and allow me to donate them a whole bunch of treasure. When the ship drove past mine without shooting me, I had hope. I let them know that they could have the treasure, but then I heard a noise. I was devastated by this. All that work for nothing. Over an hour in and I'm exactly where I started. But then, once I respawned on a faraway island, these pop-ups appeared. I was so confused at first. I'd somehow donated 13 pieces of treasure. Then I realised they must have taken treasure I already had on my ship. But I didn't give it to them, they just took it. And it counted. This changes everything. No longer did I have to persuade other players that I'm friendly. If nobody will trust me, they'll just have to kill me, take my treasure, and it will still count towards the challenge. I set off once more, scooped up some treasure floating in the water, and spotted a player ship. As expected, they shot me on sight. I stood my ground, playing music as a sign of peace, but alas, they had other plans. After I respawned on a new island, I expected more donation pop-ups, but they never came. Perhaps they had just left the treasure, I thought. It was only a couple of small items after all. So let's try again. I managed to find myself 2 shipwrecks. One had a Reaper's chest, a rare treasure that's marked on the map for all to see. This was bound to attract much wanted attention, or so I thought. But I was strangely wrong. In fact, it took over half an hour of collecting treasure before I finally spotted a couple of Reaper's emissaries on my map. As I got closer, I spotted 3 ships, all in close proximity. Someone here was bound to take my treasure, so I gave chase, advertising all the goodies I had on board. Eventually, I managed to get in front of a sloop. I offered them my treasure, but they were having none of it. They shot out my mast, boarded my ship, and killed me. But hopefully this time, they'll actually take my treasure. I respawned at an outpost and waited to see if they would take my stuff, but no pop-ups ever appeared. And after a few minutes I checked the map and saw my Reaper's chest on their ship. They had taken it, but I wasn't gaining any credit, and to this day I'm not sure why this worked at the fort but not now, All I knew was it was the end of day 1 and I still had 87 pieces of treasure left to donate. Before setting sail on the second day, I thought I'd do some digging, looking for some tips that might help me out, and I stumbled across a very interesting tactic. I set off and it didn't take long to find what I was looking for, a skeleton sloop. I quickly liberated a couple of skulls from a nearby island and beelined for this AI controlled ship. While skeleton ships do offer some tasty treasure to any pirate willing to take them down, I've got something else planned. I ram into their ship, skull in hand, and drop it aboard the skelly sloop. It worked. Donating treasure to skeleton ships counts. Is it cheating? Probably, but after everything that happened yesterday, I was fine with it. Besides, the challenge says to leave the treasure items aboard another cruise ship. It doesn't say anything about it having to be a player ship. After depositing my other skull, I ran out of treasure, but I had an idea. Skeleton ships already have treasure on them, so I jumped on board, found some of their treasure, picked it up and dropped it again. It counted. I couldn't believe it. If I wasn't cheating before, I definitely was now. I eventually got killed, but not before getting an extra 6 pieces of treasure towards my goal. I respawned on an outpost with new motivation. Without even gathering any treasure beforehand, I headed straight towards this cloud. These ship-shaped clouds denote skeleton ship battles, perfect for helping me abuse this challenge. As I arrive, a skeleton galleon rises from the depths. Using the choppy waters to my advantage, I quickly jump on and proceed with picking up and dropping back their treasure. I get 3 more donations before the skeletons overpower me. I respawned on the other side of the sea, so on my way back to the ship battle, I picked up a few things. First, I found this empty chest on a passing island, which would come in handy later, and I also visited a fort to steal some gunpowder barrels. Because you can sell these at Outpost, I reckon that they would also count as donated treasure. I picked up this skull that was just floating in the water and found a shipwreck containing a few more goodies. My biggest slowdown when donating to skelly ships is that I can normally only carry 1 piece of treasure at a time. It's quite difficult to position my ship in a way that allows me to make multiple trips, so I thought I'd experiment putting skulls and artifacts into these empty chests. I jumped off my ship with my chest full of goodies and climbed onto theirs. Even though only 1 donation message came up, I would later find out that it counted as 4. 1 for each of the treasures inside and another for the chest itself. While on the ship, I managed to kindly donate some of their own treasure back to them before jumping back onto my ship via the skeleton sloop. Embarrassingly, I then tried to donate the other treasure chest, but I misjudged the jump and ended up having to swim after the sloop. I only caught up to it in the end when it got stuck on a rock, at which point my ship had already sunk, but I did manage to donate that chest for an extra 4 pieces of treasure. I was now just under a third of my way to the goal. It's pretty slow, but it's consistent. I basically repeated what I just did again, donating a crate of fine ore that I found in the water, along with 2 gunpowder barrels that I picked up at a nearby fort. I then gifted 2 pieces of treasure back to them, including a chest with 3 smaller treasures inside, and this brought my total up to 41 items donated. However, my luck was about to run out. After getting killed trying to pick up the skull, I climbed the crow's nest to find what direction the ship battle was in, only to find it was gone. This meant I was going to have to rely on random skeleton spawns from now on. While searching for one, I spotted a player sloop. Now I haven't had much luck in getting players to cooperate with me, but I've had plenty of practice forcing my treasure onto hostile ships. So, while they were parked up at the outpost, I approached at full speed, skull in hand, and just as I was about to hit them, this message appeared on my screen. They were offering an alliance. That was unexpected. The message came way too late, and my ship rammed into theirs, so I fully expected them to kill me on sight. I quickly jumped onto their ship and placed down the skull I was holding, but the guy on the ship just awkwardly approached me unarmed. Still, I expected to get killed any second by another member of their crew, so I quickly picked up 6 pieces of their treasure and put them back down. But they still just looked at me awkwardly. At this point, a wave of guilt fell over me. I actually felt bad assuming these pirates would attack me, They even jumped onto my ship to repair the damage I had just inflicted on myself by ramming them. So I decided to return the favour by repairing their ship, and we joined up in an alliance. I gave them this key that I found earlier, and we split up so I could search for more treasure. I picked up a storage crate and a gunpowder barrel before looking back to see that my new friends were being harassed by a megalodon. Together, we took down the megalodon and I deposited all the treasure onto their ship, taking me over halfway to my goal. I headed out again and found yet another sunken ship. I then delivered some presents to my allies before helping them load some goodies from the island. As a reward for my generosity, the crew gave me some of their megalodon meat, and just like that I set sail again. After a few minutes of sailing, I saw a random skeleton ship, and I just couldn't help myself. Old habits die hard, I suppose. Afterwards, I raided yet another shipwreck. This one had the most obnoxiously placed Reaper's chest I've ever seen. After donating it back to my new friends, I decided to sell the Reaper's chest for them. It can only be sold at the Reaper's hideout, and I didn't want it to show off my allies' location to the whole server. We were in an alliance anyway, so they still got rewards for handing it in. When I got to the hideout, I found a lonely little plant that I named Susan. Susan is then joined by some gunpowder barrels from a nearby fort and a chalice that I found floating in the water. By the time I got back, my friends had been very busy collecting lots of treasure. I donated Susan and her friends, and after a little bit of blatant cheating, I'd finally done it. I donated 100 pieces of treasure in just 2 days and earned the title of Pirate Philanthropist. It was getting kind of late, and I had work the next day, but I couldn't just log off. As a newly knighted pirate philanthropist, it was my duty to help. I cooked and sold the megalodon meat they had given me, and I helped them sell their mountain of treasure at the outpost. We were still in an alliance, so I may have had a financial incentive to help them out, but during this time there was one heartbreaking revelation. My friends gave me back Susan. You see, Susan is a type of delivery good. These goods can't be sold at any old outpost. They have a specific address, and Susan's home is on the other side of the map. I was getting tired. My bed was calling my name, and a dark thought did cross my mind to leave Susan undelivered on this island. No! There was only one right thing to do. I waved goodbye to my friends and set sail across the sea. After what seemed like an eternity, I finally arrived and delivered Susan to her family. It was only at that point that I finally equipped my title. And there you have it. That is how you become a pirate philanthropist in just 2 days. Did I cheat? Yes, I absolutely cheated. But I learned 2 important lessons in doing this. First, if people don't accept your gifts, try forcing gifts on them against their will. Second, if you don't have any gifts to give, try stealing from people and gifting their own possessions back to them. And in the end, isn't that what Christmas is all about?